Thank you guys for joining us again for another episode of the Pursuit of Purpose podcast. I'm Rob.
I'm Chuck.
And today we have with us a very special guest from my hometown. I'm going to let her introduce herself and tell us a little bit about herself.
Hi, I'm Gerri Spring, and I'm from Lumberton, and I own a business there. It's called Spring Print. I've been married for 38 years.
Wow.
To
Congratulations.
Brian. Yeah. We have our anniversary this week.
What?
Yeah.
You came to see us on your anniversary week?
I did.
Wow. We are so privileged.
We are.
Yeah.
It's like we're invited to the party.
What an honor. What an honor.
It is.
38 years.
Yeah.
That's quite an accomplishment.
That's my best accomplishment right there.
That's a pretty big one. Pretty big one. So you said you have your own business. How long have you had your own business?
I started my business in 2003.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
22 years.
22 years. It's transitioned into Spring Print. It originally was a phone book. So in the area.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did not know that. See, I'm learning stuff today.
Right.
So how long did you have you had actual Spring Print?
14 years.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah.
See, I mean, I've been doing business with you for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize it was 14 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I started doing business with you shortly after you opened.
Yeah.
And I had no idea. Boy, how time flies, right?
When you're having fun.
That is crazy.
Yes.
That is crazy. So your business is located right in the middle of downtown, Lumberton, Texas. And when I say downtown, I mean that in a bit of a joking manner.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a Main Street USA, that's it.
Yeah. On Main Street, right in the middle.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. So what all does Spring Print do?
We do everything from printed material like business cards, letterhead, envelopes, all the way to vehicle wraps and signage and things like that. We also do T-shirts, screen printing, direct to film, also UV printing. So
like hats and
pretty
stuff
much
like
everything.
that,
Hats, cups,
and all that kind of stuff.
and then I can do promotional products as well.
Something that, and I know you're modest about your talents and abilities, but something that I know you're really good at, and if you're in the audience and watching this, especially if you have your own business and you want to do some personalized stuff, you're a very good graphic designer, and you have people that work for you that are also very good.
Right. I have 2 graphic designers, and I've worked in the graphic design field since the 80s. So, yeah.
So those of you in the audience, if you've ever watched our program, listened to our program and seen our logo or this sign that's behind us, this lady is responsible for the artwork that went into that. So we appreciate you.
Yep.
I appreciate it.
So how did you get into that particular business?
After I graduated high school, I went to work in Amarillo for a telephone directory company. And that's where I met my husband. So that company started in 1983. And at that time, it was when Yellow Pages were just being launched as a competitor to Ma Bell. Mm-hmm. And his brother saw the vision. He was only in his late 30s or late 20s, I guess. And anyway, Brian has his oldest brother, David, his next brother, Larry, and then his sister, and then he's the baby. Mm-hmm. And so at that time, they were just opening directories all over the state of Texas.
Okay.
Yeah. So at one time, I think we had 10 or 12. So Beaumont was one of those. And we had a production facility there in Amarillo. And so that was back when you did print on film.
Wow.
And then you had to hand strip everything. It was not desktop publishing. Mm-hmm. So
it's a pretty amazing thing. You're talking to generations of people. Now, first of all, they're going to listen to this and they're going to say, oh, wow, that was back in the 1900s. Because that's what our 7-year-old and our 10-year-old and even our 18-year-old, that's what they tend to say now. When we talk about anything from the 90s and the 80s,
right.
God forbid we talk about the 70s, but that was back in the 1900s. So you mean you were alive back then?
I was.
And y'all were doing this and that and the other. And the fascinating thing about that is, in our generations, we knew phone books. Like that was a part of life. That was a staple of existence. Mm-hmm. Not only was it the resource for finding businesses or whatever, if you needed something, but it was also the greatest way to gain height in a chair.
Right.
we would sit them on a chair, and sit on
Yeah,
it.
or a catwalk.
But the phone book everybody had because
Right.
it magically appeared at your door, or in your driveway.
Right.
At a certain time of year, there was always this magical moment when a phone book appeared in the driveway with a plastic cover on it.
Right.
And that was your chance,
Yes.
And,
That reminds me when I first started. First I grew up in Lake Charles, Louisiana, in Houston. So the phone book was a big thing. I mean,
Right.
the Houston phone book was huge.
Oh, yeah.
Two of them.
Two of them. and this is just a little side note. And with my last name being Olaf, for about 7 of the 11 years we lived there, we were the only Olafs in the Houston phone book.
what?
That's crazy.
There was no other. Yeah, there were some over in the state of Louisiana, but that we were the only ones in the greater Houston. Then some lady moved in, but we couldn't figure out how we were
When your
related.
cousin or whatever.
Well, apparently not. My mom tried to reach out to her. I don't think it went too far. But what I started noticing was, and you guys remember this as publishing all that material, is people would be very creative with their names, like AAA, whatever, because
Yeah.
that
They
bumped
wanted
you
to be
up
first.
in the book. Yeah. And I guess that was always a unique thing to help people market themselves and say,
Right.
well, if we maybe adjust y'all's name a little bit, that'll bump you up in the findings. if
Yeah,
you
that
will.
used to be an argument between salespeople.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I always thought that was hilarious. I like AAA lock or AAA,
Storage.
storage
Was always the AA.
Attorneys.
Oh my God.
Attorneys,
yes.
the double, triple truck or triple double truck,
Yes,
or whoever could get the most,
there
the
you
biggest ad.
Oh my
And I
gosh.
remember too that one way I guess you guys expanded y'all's marketability is for the books was there would be numerous categories. Like as a therapist, I was a therapist, marriage and family.
Mhm.
I mean, I was in like 5 different categories, and the salespersons were always clever about that. Well, let's see where all we can put you. Well, I wasn't thinking everywhere they put me, I had to pay for
Pay for
that.
that. That's right.
No, they start off free and then they would add it.
And then they added,
Oh,
yeah.
you need a quarter column, or you need this. Yeah,
Exactly. And so, I mean, it was a plan. It was fine, but it was the system we had.
it was a fantastic business.
Yeah, I'm
It was.
sure. I'm
Yeah.
sure. Okay.
So
Yeah.
we're reintroducing this concept to people that have never heard of it.
Right.
Right.
Because you've got anybody who is 25 or less has never seen a phone book,
Right.
most likely,
Mhm. Or a phone in their house.
or a corded phone. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh, that brings back memories.
the cord that goes.
Yeah, you had this long cord, and then you'd talk on it, and you'd end up wrapped around it, or whatever. And then you sit down at the table, and the thing stretched across the house,
Right.
and mom or dad has to walk across it, and
Right.
siblings grab it and twist it or unplug it from the
Mhm.
base to jack with you if you're on the phone.
or it would disappear into a closet or a
Uh-huh.
bedroom, and you're like, well, is somebody on the phone? Because the cord went in, but when cordless phones came out, oh, that's liberating. Now
Right.
you can actually walk outside. I mean,
Mhm.
yeah, those are great days.
It's fun to watch old TV shows from the 1900s, and you see that transition from a corded phone, and then you see the wireless, headsets or whatever,
Or the brick.
the big brick. And then if you watch movies like Lethal Weapon, in the first Lethal Weapon movie, you see that first bag phone, and
yeah,
that movie's from the early 80s.
yes,
And Danny Glover
Yeah.
is carrying that big old bag
Bag
phone,
phone.
and he's standing on a bridge in LA over a highway, and he's talking about
Mel Gibson's
character,
and how
and-
crazy he is.
and he holds this big bag phone. So back in the 1900s, we did things different,
We
right?
carried around a roll of quarters.
That's
You could
right.
stop it.
That's right. Oh my goodness.
Yes,
What great
yes.
memories.
That's how you made phone calls and washed your clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
you had a
you're-
roll of quarters.
Your first business venture, your entrepreneurial pursuit, the phone book, was a part of history.
It was. And
That's pretty
I was
amazing.
in that field from the time it began as independent directories to really the time it's still around, but I would say ending.
Right.
Yeah. So in 2017 is when we did our last phone book up there.
I'll bet that one of the worst sales jobs in the entire universe would be phone book sales right now.
I would think.
Yeah. If the very few of those that are left.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't even know what you do with it now.
Yeah.
Right. Is there an online version of something like that?
Google.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
Apple
Just search it.
Maps
Okay.
or Apple,
Yeah, but I don't,
like,
yeah.
and Google both.
I guess what my question implies, some of those companies that produce those things, did they transition or did they just go away?
I think they probably tried to transition, but Google was so
Yeah.
much bigger.
Powerful.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and Yahoo.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay.
You-
I mean,
you really couldn't compete.
yeah, things have their season,
Yeah.
and here we are.
Yeah.
And look at you pivoting. So you went from that into the whole
Signage,
printing,
advertising.
signage and all that.
We had a print shop in Amarillo when we first got married. And so Brian actually ran a press at that time, a printing press,
Okay.
a small one. So when we started our phone book up in Hardin County, we also had a little print shop called Copies, Graphics, and More. I don't know if you remember it.
I don't.
It's down the end of Main Street, down where I think it's Homer Brothers buildings, but it has a cigarette shop maybe and a massage thing down by that boat place.
Yes,
That's
it's a
where we
doctor's office. Insight Medical is right there by it.
Yes, close.
Yes.
Yes. Dr. Dow.
Dow,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, it's right beside it.
Okay.
So we were in there, and that's where our phone book was at one end, and our
I
print
did
shop was
not
at
know
the other.
that. That is
Mhm.
crazy.
Yeah.
That is.
and then Hurricane Rita hit, and it ripped the roof off of it,
Yeah.
and so all our equipment got wet.
Yeah, that
So-
was in 05.
Yeah,
I remember that.
yeah. So we had that print shop before, and I had worked for an ad agency in Amarillo. It was over 100 years old when I worked there. It was
Wow.
pretty cool. So I've had other experiences. Brian's mom owned a Thrifty Nickel. I don't know if you'll remember.
I remember the Thrifty
Yeah.
Nickel.
Yeah, we had one of those in Amarillo. His mom ran that, and his older brother is the one that started that in Amarillo. So,
See, the Thrifty Nickel was the first Facebook marketplace.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the origin of you need to sell something quick and cheap.
Thrifty Nickel.
That's what you did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you needed to buy something quick and cheap,
Right.
like if you needed a really cheap car just to get you through the
Right.
weekend,
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
you could get out of Thrifty Nickel and
Right.
you could find whatever.
Or flip a lawnmower or something.
Right, something
Yeah.
like that. It was pretty neat. I do remember that
Yeah.
back in the 1900s.
In 1900.
So where were you born, Jerry?
By Lubbock, Texas, in a little town called Slayton.
Slayton.
Mhm.
How big is Slayton?
It's-
Or was?
It was tiny. I don't know. They had a hospital at the time, but they don't even have that now.
Wow.
So my dad was a railroader. So,
Okay.
Yeah. So my parents met in Oklahoma. They actually wore the same baby shoes.
What?
We have a picture of them on my grandparents' front porch.
That's crazy.
Because my dad's dad went to work for my mom's dad when he got out of the military. He was in the military, in the Navy.
Wow.
So my mom's dad was a farmer, and he just came to help there.
Okay.
And then he started working for the railroad, and so they knew each other their whole entire life.
How about that?
That is amazing.
Literally their
We're married 53 years. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
that what an institution.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So do you have siblings?
I do. I have a brother, and he lives out in Arizona.
Okay.
He is a skydiver.
What?
Yeah.
Professionally? He's a skydiver?
No, he just does it for fun.
Oh,
And
okay.
he's jumped over 800 times or something like that.
Oh, wow.
Recently, he jumped over the pyramids.
What?
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah. He's done Costa Rica. Then he went somewhere and jumped in the blue hole. I don't know. He sends me pictures of wherever he's at.
That's awesome.
Yeah. He's retired from Intel.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's what he
Now
does.
that is a neat hobby.
It
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah.
As long as he's doing it, I'm not jumping out of a plane. Not
You
a
wouldn't do
perfectly
it?
good one. No.
So he's jumped all those many times and you never jumped at all.
Mhm.
What a contrast. I
Right.
love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Does he give you a hard time trying to get you to do it? Or
No.
no?
He did find me one of those things where you could go to Houston and get in the,
Oh yeah,
but I
the
never did get to do it. So
Okay. And he never talked his brother-in-law into it. Brian's never jumped?
no, he probably would have done it, but we
Okay.
never did go.
Okay.
well, it's not over yet. He could still.
He could.
So, what was discipline like growing up in your childhood home for you and your brother?
Well, my dad was the hard one, so he gave the spankings.
So we did get whoopings.
Oh yeah, we got whoopings, just like Rachel. Yeah.
We got whoopings too, where
Yeah.
I was growing up.
And he was very strict. And my dad was gone a lot working, so my mom did most of the raising.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's prototypical of the, like of the
It's-
times.
Mhm.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
And so when you became a parent,
Mm-hmm.
how did that influence your disciplining of your children? Did you do it the same?
Probably, maybe not as harsh with the spankings, but they still got spanked.
I'm the same way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you'll get no judgment from me.
Yeah.
You'll get nothing but agreement.
The big leather belt I do not have.
Oh, okay.
So,
Well, I can say that in my personal history, I've been hit with all sorts of things,
Mm-hmm.
hands, pieces of things, whatever was nearby and easily swung. Usually is what was used as the tool of
That sounds
enforcing
like my
the
husband's
punishment.
family. Yeah.
Whatever it takes, if we're going to make a difference in you right now, right here. And that happened, like my grandfather, he was pretty inventive. He would send the kids, my mom and her siblings, to go get their switch.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
So they get to think about it while they're doing it. And if they got one that wasn't adequate and they knew wasn't going to dole out the punishment correctly, then he would go get the switch. And they didn't want him doing it.
Right.
Because he come back with, a log or, whatever it was.
My dad must have been proud of his switch selection ability because he would put it in the freezer.
God!
To keep it from
deteriorating.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
And I remember, and of course it got lost back in all the packs of like deer meat and stuff. Eventually we found it, and he goes, I kind of forgot that was in there. And of course I'm thinking good because I didn't want it to be used. But yeah, and it probably was a sight game because I'm going to put this in this freezer. So then you always knew it was in there.
Yeah.
I knew it was in there because I saw him put it in there and I never saw it come out. So until we cleaned it out, we moved them and I'm like, oh, look.
The switch.
The switch. Yes. And but they played a lot of that sight game with me, which is, hey, this is going to happen. And so you got hours to think about what's going to happen. And usually it happened. They were good for their work. That was for sure. But yeah, freezing a switch. I'm glad I brought that little thought to you guys.
Were you a good student in school?
I wasn't.
No.
I think going back to punishment, I think the worst punishment you could give me was to tell me you were disappointed more than a spanking. So spankings really weren't,
Weren't
my dad could say he was disappointed and that was harder.
Well, the thing is, the spanking would be given and then it's over. The pain would be there just a little bit, but then afterwards it's done and you can keep on going with life. Right. But that disappointment, that sticks.
That was more
that's inside you. So I can relate to that.
Yeah.
So when you say you weren't a good student, so where did you graduate first?
In Wellington, Kansas.
Wellington, Kansas. Is that farm country?
It is. It was the wheat capital of the world.
The wheat capital of the world.
I don't know if never heard of it, but yeah.
Wellington.
So it's just on the Oklahoma-Kansas line.
Okay.
And my dad had the territory from Wellington all the way to Winoka, Oklahoma, which is where he grew up.
Okay.
So, yeah. And
so that's where you graduated?
It was, yeah.
And I'm guessing you weren't valedictorian or salutatorian since you said you didn't.
I was just there for the social aspect. Yeah.
Aha.
Yeah.
Aha.
Now my brother was top of his class.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were a social butterfly. Is that right?
Yeah. I was just there to have fun. Yeah.
Was there any particular activity you got involved with
my mom got us into everything. We had a thing called K-Eds. We had pep club. I was a cheerleader one year. I worked at IGA. That was my third job, actually. I worked at A&W first when I was 14.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I was car hop. And then I worked at Kentucky Fried Chicken briefly, and I didn't like it. And then I worked at IGA for a long time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. So coming through school, what did you have as far as your ambition for yourself? What did you want to become? Kids always talk about, I want to be this when I grow up or whatever. What did you?
I always really thought I would work with kids. I love kids. So I never thought about being in advertising or anything like that, but it ended up happening. So.
Well, how many kids have you had?
I have 2 boys.
2 boys.
Mm-hmm. My oldest just turned 37 and my youngest is 34.
37 and 34. Well, that's a sign of success. They've survived.
Yeah. Yes.
What do they do? Where are they at?
Chase actually works for Brian's company, Frog Wash.
Okay.
And he's been doing that for quite a while.
That's awesome to have family business.
Right. And then Zach, he does all of the vehicle wraps for my company.
Well, that's amazing.
He does installations and things like that. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. See, that's awesome.
We got some legacy going.
Yes. Yes.
I like that.
Now, I don't want to go too far and maybe get into meddling into family affairs, but do you see it as a potential that they will take over for you guys and keep the businesses going? Or do you think that they, when you guys are ready to to step down from leadership roles in the business that they might just say sell it and move on?
I think the one of them does not have any interest. The other one does. So
Okay.
we'll just see what time will tell.
We'll see. Yeah.
Sometimes that's the requirement.
Yeah.
Time.
So time will tell.
And there's plenty of that.
There is. Yeah.
So what's it like having both boys working for y'all's two respective businesses?
It's got good times, has bad times. So,
We deal with a lot of people. A lot of people have sat in that chair that have created their form of success, created their company, their business, their entrepreneurial pursuit, and they have had their children
take it,
come in and work there or possibly take the reins. And there's mixed feelings about that. There's a lot of both sides. Sometimes the feeling of entitlement is too strong. And then sometimes there's just not enough ambition in the same direction.
Correct. Yeah.
And that's okay because our pursuits don't always align.
No,
Right.
Everyone has their life pursuit to find for themselves.
Their purpose.
Their purpose.
Yeah.
That's right.
So
exactly.
Did you have a mentor growing up? Someone that you look back on in your life and said, this person really influenced me and helped me become the grounded, wise, gave me the wisdom that helped me to where I am and where I'm going?
I would say my mom was probably my biggest mentor. She was my biggest cheerleader, and I lost her to cancer about 11 years ago. And when she got cancer, I brought her down to MD Anderson. They lived in Missouri at the time.
Okay.
And my dad called me and told me that she had a tumor in her chest, and they didn't know. And so I just caught a plane and I went right up there. And I said, we're going to MD Anderson. And she said, I knew you would say that. So we told her doctors. They already had her scheduled to go into the hospital in Springfield. And we called him, and he gave me every reason not to bring her here. And I said, I'm sorry, we're bringing her. So I got her a plane ticket and we came straight down. But then I couldn't get her in. And she had a tumor in her chest, and it was like she was breathing through a straw. Is where she was at. And anyway, so finally they had to go through all this red tape to get her in. And I said, well, can I just bring her to the emergency room? I said, I was having to go get her protein shakes to keep her nutrition up. And they said, you can bring her, but that doesn't mean we'll keep her, which they have to say that, I'm sure. But I brought her, and they didn't let her go. So, yeah. She had great insurance.
So the experience at MD Anderson with your mom, and I'm sorry that you lost her, but how was that experience?
It was positive. Yeah. It was very positive. They did everything they could. She did beat it at one point, and then she had a relapse. And when she did, it came back with a vengeance. So we got 5 years that we wouldn't have had with her.
That's good. So you don't have any regret over that decision. You still believe it was the right thing to bring her to
I think that's an amazing facility. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. And I think that she got those 5 years because she was there.
Good.
And that put you in a close proximity, because Springfield would be quite a
trek.
Yeah, for you to go back and forth with your brother, but just right up the road. I mean that's kind of a yes. That's a positive. That's a affirmative decision for sure.
And at the time that she got sick, I fortunately had a business partner. So I don't know if you remember Shelly. She was my business partner for 18 years.
I vaguely remember.
Yes,
I definitely remember the name
Shelly. Yeah,
but I can't picture. I don't know what my brain's doing right now, but.
So because I had her, I was able to take my mom to every doctor appointment. I would check into the hospital with her and stay. I would just bring my computer and work from her room, and she would run things here. So that was an awesome benefit to having my own business.
Yes.
And having a great business partner that was on my side that would pray with me every time, So, yeah.
That's amazing.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
So you mentioned prayer. So if you don't mind, I'm going to talk a little bit about that. How does your faith play into your success in business?
That's a good question. Well, I walk with Jesus every day. So when there's a problem, that's who I go to with it, So I couldn't do it without him.
See, people, we don't talk about this a whole lot on this show. And we give everybody a chance to speak their truth, whatever it is. But there is a direct correlation between your faith and your success.
Yeah.
Right.
Regardless of what you choose to believe in your own particular, religious direction or whatever it may be, faith, just the pure having faith, a person without faith can't be successful.
Yeah. I can't imagine not having God in my life.
That's right.
At all. Yeah. So.
Is that something that you were raised in your home, or you came to more as a later in your life? Or?
I was raised in it. My parents took us to church when we were younger, but then when we became teenagers, they quit going and we kept going. My brother and I kept going. So it was a unique experience. I would say church camp was my favorite thing to do. And FCA, I don't know if they still have FCA, do they?
I don't know if they still do. I do remember it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Going to that camp was fun.
Yeah. I know there's a lot of campus chapters.
Is there?
That. Yeah, like at the schools and stuff. And so I presume there's also some summer camp of some sort. Yeah. No, that's dear to my heart. I'm actually on the board of a Christian youth camp. I've been doing that for about 3 decades now.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. That's basically, we're getting ready for the season. Kids start showing up next week. So I know we don't talk a lot of time here, guys. We try to keep this so this is some people can come in anytime, but we're barely into the month of June here, and so kids are coming. And they won't stop to the end of July, so it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's a great season in their life. I mean,
it is,
and that can change their life forever.
Yes, and we get a lot of kids that I only see once every 51 weeks. And they that I'll see them again next summer because they live all kind of parts of the country. But that's pretty neat. That's awesome. I love that. Yeah.
I think Parkway, they are going to have 450 kids at camp this year.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yes.
And get to see the explosion of the youth is just so fun.
That is amazing.
I'm sitting here thinking, I know schools that are that size, and that's going to be just like a week at camp. I'm like, well, how do you coordinate?
I mean, it's other churches and stuff, but still.
How do you coordinate all that?
That's bigger than the senior class in Lumberton.
Right.
The senior class graduated 277 kids.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you got to almost double that.
They're running, I would say let's see, 200 kids that are fifth grade under through Parkway every Sunday.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That is amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
For those of you in the audience that may not know, and in our worldwide audience, there's no way you could know, but she's referring to Parkway. Parkway Life Church is a local church in Lumberton. And over the past years, it has experienced enormous growth.
Yes.
So that's what she's talking about, just so that you guys understand.
Good people, good leadership, and excellent neighbors. Good folks. Good for y'all.
Yeah.
So back to your business.
Okay.
You got into this, I don't know what else to call it, but other than printing and marketing materials business.
Right.
Would you agree with that?
I'd agree with that. Yeah.
Okay. So did you have any specialized schooling, college, or training other than the phone book company before you got into this business?
I used to work at the Orange Leader, and then I worked for Central Office Supply in Bridge City when I was pregnant with my second son, and just small print shops, newsprint. So I worked in various parts in the ad agency. So that was experience that I had. I did not go to school to do this. It's basically self-taught. When I got pregnant with my second son, Mr. Smith in Bridge City, he's now passed away, but he said, if you'll come back from pregnancy leave, I'll buy you a Mac.
Oh.
And I was like, every place I worked, it was like, I'd almost get a Mac and then I wouldn't get it. Yeah. So he bought me a Mac to come back to work, and I got to learn desktop publishing then. So that was a game changer for me.
So a lot of your learning then was kind of on the job. Yeah. In these, but I love it. I love how you were in all these various capacities, and some of it being tech of the 1900s, and then eventually evolving.
1900s.
Right. And, but eventually we're kind of big proponents of having these interviews and watching things come to fruition.
Right.
And it's not that folks didn't have no idea, but they were just kind of doing their thing at that moment, not knowing that's going to contribute later to something that really became an institution in their life. like your company. I mean,
Right.
that's you. That's all you. Your name's on it. It's all you. But it became that.
Right.
And looking back, that kind of seems like that's a neat story to tell. You go, well, I can see where all these things contributed, and here we are.
And the thing that contributed most to opening Spring Print was when I had Copies, Graphics, and More, I had a friend that worked for a pump company here in Beaumont. And it became a national company. So it became a company that went to all of the United States and Canada. And I got their sticker order. So I did all of their stickers.
That helped you.
Yeah, that helped me evolve. And so we were doing all these stickers, and I was doing them out of my house after Rita happened.
Yes.
And so when we started seeing the phone book decline, Shelly and I had a conversation. I said, what if we pulled it all together and then we'd keep our employees employed? So that's how we did that. But the kicker to that was we opened our doors and we were doing all those stickers, and the company sold to United Rental. And
so that was Service Pump and Compressor, wasn't it?
it was National Pumping. Yeah.
It was originally Service Pump, wasn't it?
No, it was National Pumping
National
Compressor,
Pump,
but
whatever.
it came from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember that, though. I remember that transition. So there's an amazing thing that's one of my favorite things that you just illustrated. The question of what if.
What if?
You looked at Shelly and said, what if? What and that what if sparked more imagination, more creativity.
Yes.
And then it transitioned into
Right.
Look where you are now.
Right.
And the reason I asked you the question about education or training was so that, and one of the big takeaways I want our audience to always gain from our show, no matter what our guest's origin is that no matter where they are, no matter where they're going, no matter what they're doing, no matter the how happens on its own, as long as you stay focused on your direction.
Yeah,
if you're pursuing your purpose, you don't have to concern yourself with the how.
Right.
You just focus on, this is where I'm going.
Right.
And the what if.
Right.
And stay the course. The how will come together.
Yes.
Yeah.
It just keep asking.
And never stop
Stay with
learning.
It's not a requirement for success for you to go to any particular school, to have any particular training.
Right.
It's a requirement for success that you be persistent and focused.
Right.
Dedicated to the end. So you lived an illustration of that.
Right.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. We get the privilege of doing that a lot in the counseling coaching side of things. Either people are pursuing something. Sometimes in the beginning, they're pursuing a solution to a problem.
Right.
But then eventually now they're pursuing more of a passion, and it's fun. It's really neat to see that transition. But they'll ask us, they go, so how do we do that? Oh, we're not going to worry about that. We just start working on changing the mindset. Just get in it, get busy, get oriented, or better than that, actually just get immersed. Just dive in, and it's never ceases to amaze me. I've never, and when I say never, that's an absolute term. I realize that, friends, but I've never seen it not incarnate. It always becomes something.
That's right.
Every single time. And if they'll just get in and get busy. And so wherever you were working, you're like, okay, I'm all in.
Right.
I'm going to learn everything I can about this particular company, not knowing you may only be there for a season, 4 or 5 years.
Right.
But by the time you left, you knew it all.
Yeah.
And then it, like you said, they're sold or there's moved or whatever, you promote, and now you're in the new place. Start all over. Same formula, just new place.
Yeah.
And I presume when you've hired people through the years, they came from somewhere. Maybe very few just stepped right out of high school. Maybe a few, but most were in somewhere else, and then you became their next best option.
Right.
And I'm sure that's kind of a really a neat and very blessed thing to be a part of, to say, wow, I can be a part of that growth, whether I keep them for life or not.
Right.
I might, but if I don't, that's okay. Maybe if I only have them for a season, imagine what we'll accomplish.
Exactly.
Yeah. I love the sticker story. I didn't know this. I had a young man he and his wife are coming in to see me for some counseling stuff. And one day he shows up and he has this sticker, and it says, I finally got a handle on life, but I broke it. And I go, oh, he said, I want you to have this. And I said, oh, okay. And I said, where'd you get this? He was the sticker guy at his plant. And so,
funny.
so all the doors had to have, if there's a chemical in there and all that kind of stuff. And once every so often, once a quarter or so, he'd have to go around and he'd have to make sure they weren't sun dried and all that kind of stuff. And there was a sticker guy that he would place an order, and they come out, he'd go around and they would replace them and put on stickers. But he he gave him like 10 of these. He says, yeah, just as I was home goofing around here, you can have this. And so he had a small stack of them. So when he came in, he had 2 or 3 and he gave me one. I'm like, well, that's cool, And so I never took the sticker off. I think it's still on the little wax paper.
Oh, that's funny.
I'd say, I think it's in my office somewhere. But yeah, I thought, how neat. But you don't know that there's a side of a business until it gets directly introduced to you. You're like, well, that makes sense because somebody's got to be responsible
for all the stickers in the world.
Yeah, for all the stickers in the world. So you were the sticker lady.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Now we did do. I put Zach through 3M wrap school.
Oh, okay.
So
yes.
He is trained.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
You have to have some specialized course for some things.
And I did go to college. I went to college to be a court reporter. I drove back and forth from Bridge City to Alvin 5 days a week.
Isn't that funny how we do things and we don't see any correlation between the things that we've done and the path that we're choosing.
Right.
But I'll bet that even now, looking back at your college as a court reporter, there's some aspects of that carry with you, whether it been the social aspects where you met people that have remained in your life, or little tidbits of training that you picked up through that experience. But that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like, think about how many people go to college and get a CPA, an accounting degree.
Right.
And they never use it ever. Right. Because, halfway through and they're already committed and they realize,
I don't like
I
this.
hate this. Yes. Or what do they call it? Business management degree or something like that. They're all useful. But accounting is the most common.
Yeah.
That's not used, but it's their major.
Yeah. A friend of mine went to school to be political science, and then she became a salesperson, and she made killer money. So yeah, you just never know.
So what is your favorite thing about being an entrepreneur, about owning your own business?
Just, I love every aspect of the print shop that I do. There's not one favorite thing. I'll do anything in there because I think it's fun. So
since you said that,
yes,
the follow-up question is going to be real tough for you.
Oh no.
What's your least favorite thing about it?
Bookkeeping.
There you go. I can agree with that. No, the accounting part. Yeah.
And that's what someone once said: hire someone to pay what you don't want to do and pay them well.
Yeah.
Right.
It's, when I first went into business for myself many years ago, a gentleman that was a friend of ours, he was a self-employed guy his entire career. Like he's one of those rare ones that actually work in the field. He was a poultry science major, and he ended up owning chicken farms. So he did it. Yeah, he did.
That's very.
But now this is the 50s. He graduated from A&M in the 50s, so maybe there was a little more.
Still
of that
the 1900s.
Still the 1900s, right? But
the mid 1900s.
Yes, but he looked at me knowing I was leaving an agency and going self-employed, and he says, "You go hire this CPA and do everything he tells you to do." I go, "Yes, sir." And I did. And so far, so good, and it's worked out pretty well. But I knew real quick when I would sit and talk to someone who's skilled in that whole industry, I don't know what I don't know. But thank goodness that guy does.
Right.
And so he was worth every dollar, and it's still worth every dollar I paid.
That's right. I think the funnest part of my business, though, is watching companies come in. Young people are my favorite. They come in and they're getting their first set of business cards, and then I get to see them come in with their new truck, and then I get to see them come in with their fleet of trucks, and that is the best part of my business.
That's a fascinating thing. You watched me do that. You may not even realize it, but when I started, one of my companies was DNR Full Service. When I started that, it was just me and a lawnmower.
Yes,
that's all I had. And I didn't even, my first set of signs was all about mowing. And that transitioned from mowing into industrial mowing, then to industrial dirt and right-of-way work and land clearing and demolition. And it went from one lawnmower with just me to, at one point in time, I had 35 people.
Yeah. It's amazing. To watch and watching young people.
And I never thought about you
to break their dream, get into their dream.
Watching
you are the living embodiment of that. One of her favorite.
My favorite things.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And here we are.
Even in the phone book, that was fun because they'd come in and they buy a bold listing. Then they would get a quarter column. Then they get a half page. And just watching their businesses flourish.
Yeah.
So many businesses in this area that I've got to watch from day one to what they are now.
And your business is one of them.
Yes.
Hey, well, maybe
Didn't think about it that way,
No.
did you?
No.
I love that. I love that's so promoting. I love that.
Yeah.
You know, to know that you had that contribution. I made those deposits, and
Yeah.
and you know, it may be. I don't want to say it's a simple role. They have to go out and actually do the work and build their business. You know, but to know that you had a hand in it, that is cool.
That's what's fun about BNI, I think.
Mhm.
I mean, watching the young people come in, like Dylan Walker
Mhm.
and Josh and
Mhm.
all of them. It's just fun to watch them come in and they're,
Right.
you know,
Right.
what they're going to be and what they're
Right.
going to do.
One of the guys that we're in business with, who is doing fantastic, has his own restaurant, he's clever. But we actually met with him. Rob and I did as just buddies. We were downstairs having lunch, and he was there. We just got to talking, and I mean, he was a much smaller version of what he is now. And we just and Rob's really good at this. He's just asking these drawing out questions of what do you want? What do you see? What do you do? And he was hard to answer those questions because no one's ever really challenged that thought,
Yeah.
but it got it going. And then within just so many months, he grew a little bit. But then now he's exactly where Rob challenged him to be a year ago. He owns his own restaurant. Yeah. Like, do you see yourself at a brick and mortar? He goes, yeah, I guess, you know, and boom, there he is. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And you got a front row seat as well. I know you helping with some of those things. And so I love it.
It's cool.
One of your favorite things is also one of my favorite things.
Awesome.
Helping, you know, watching that progress,
Yeah.
watching the things come to fruition.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm going to ask you this is a big question. Are you a success? Are you successful?
I guess so.
You guess so. I don't think you need to guess.
I'm successful in my marriage. I know that.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
That's a really big one. But you think about this. And everybody measures success differently because it's very subjective. But you just gave a track for success. You said, I love to watch people come in and they get their first set of business cards and their first stickers for their vehicle. And then the next thing you know, I'm putting stickers on, you know, a fleet of vehicles or whatever it is. Well, the fascinating thing is you're a contributing factor to that success.
Yeah.
The service that you render helps them become.
Yeah.
So that's huge. That's a success in aiding success.
Which implies you have a success formula.
Yes.
And so to answer the question, you want another shot at it? Are you a success?
Sure.
There you
Yes.
Yeah. And I love it because we now know, and of course, you know, fans of our program know that success is not the final measurement. For success is the system to get there.
Right.
And you obviously have that, you know, and you share it. Like you said, I get to share it with these young, you know, dreamers, if you will, who want something. They're not even really sure what it's going to be. They just know it's going to be something. Yeah. And so there you go.
Now I don't think anyone should discount this generation coming up because I think
No.
they're pretty powerful.
Yes.
They may do it different.
Yes.
But it doesn't mean
But
it's
so
wrong.
do we.
That's right.
I
We
mean,
did it different than our predecessors.
Yeah.
And different or change is part of progress. It's part of the miracle of life.
Yeah.
And that's all. I mean, they're the next iteration of our species.
They're just born with the tools of the 2000s.
Right.
Yeah. Not the 1900s.
They never saw the
Yeah.
1800s. Bless their hearts.
Right. They live in a wireless world.
Right. So if you had to put it into words, which we're about to challenge you to do, what would be your legacy?
Geez, I don't know.
That's a big question, right?
Yeah.
What would you want them to say about Jerri?
I think the most important legacy would be my grandchildren, to pour into their lives and to help them be a success.
Okay.
I mean, I guess.
There's
We
nothing
didn't
wrong with
mention
that.
my grandkids.
Not yet. Not yet. We're gonna get to something else. We're gonna segue into that. So we'll do it now. How did you meet Brian?
Oh, well, I went to work for his brother in Amarillo, and he he's not going to like this, but he stole my resume off his brother's desk and asked me out.
Smart guy. That's resourceful. So he saw you come and go, and he was like,
the first week, because I was staying with my grandmother whenever I got that job, and I came home and she said, some guy named Spring called you. And I said, I'm in trouble, or what? Have I done something wrong?
She didn't say Agent Spring. She said some guy named Spring. So
yes. Oh, yeah. I love it. And you thought it was the brother.
Yeah.
Like,
I was in trouble.
I thought we were so how, and look, turns out you were in trouble, right? 38 years later.
So I'm going to ask a crazy question. This is one I haven't gotten to ask ever. So he steals your resume off of his brother's desk.
Yeah.
How does he generate a conversation with you and make it seem like he's not creepy? Because apparently he did a good job. Yeah. But he obviously did a really good job, because here you are 38 years later.
Yeah.
How did he do it? What was the initiation like? Like when he called you, or when you had the first talk with him?
Yeah.
How did he go from, hey, I saw you and I stole your resume because I thought you were hot.
He didn't tell me that. Yeah.
But how did that, like, how do you frame that?
Right. Is he creepy stalking?
I mean, like back in the day, you didn't have Facebook to, scroll around.
You didn't get in trouble for looking on somebody's desk.
Right.
Yeah.
Apparently not.
Yeah.
So how did he start? How did he go from?
We just started hanging out together, and we were everywhere together. And if we weren't together, they were like, "Where's your shadow?" Because we just clicked.
So how long from the first time you guys made introduction to each other until you went on a date where it became a romantic type relationship?
Probably maybe 3-4 months.
Okay.
Yeah. He rode motorcycles. He was a dirt bike rider. So
good people.
Yeah.
Some of the best people ride dirt bikes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I'd go and hang out. So if he got hurt, I could take him to the ER,
There you go.
I love that.
But we just had a lot of fun together. Yeah. And still do. So
good.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Good.
So that's awesome.
Yeah. So now that we know the rest of the story, it doesn't seem quite as creepy.
It's not creepy.
So, no, I love the resourcefulness.
Good job, Brian.
Yeah. Yes.
Good job.
He had enough sense to watch you come in and out of the room, and you left that resume. He's like, "Oh, I got it. I got this. Score.
Yeah.
Look.
And that was before cell phone, so you couldn't call on the cell phone or text. So think about those things.
Yeah.
You had to call my grandma's house.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And And
the first time he picked me up, he had a Toyota pickup.
Okay.
It had been flipped. It had been wrecked.
Nice.
It had it had a headlight hanging out the front. He came to pick me up, and I think it was taped in, maybe. And my granddad said, "You can be all right, sister." But they loved him.
Believe it or not, I worked for his brother. So
well, what's amazing is, I mean, in his shoes, I don't know if this was meant this way. It may have been all he had. Who knows? But if you can go and pick up a girl in a vehicle that looks like that, and she still goes and then comes back for more, you got her.
That's right.
I mean, that right there,
right.
The application has been filled out and approved. Like, that's it. It's done.
Yes.
You know, I mean, you just proved that he didn't have to impress you with, material things. So that's awesome. Did it have AC?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. And the reason it was flipped was his brother was driving on ice, and it flipped and then kept going.
At least that's
the truck was a moneymaker. So he flipped it, he got paid for it, and just kept dropping it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh,
I ain't mad at it.
No, I'm impressed.
And it was the 80s, and we didn't have anything. So
the late 1900s.
Right.
It wasn't about status.
Yes. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Good job, Brian.
I'm telling you, and I'm going to give credit to you how you could look right past all that damage and see the driver. It was like
see the person.
See the person. I want to hang out with him. I don't care.
He was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, I'm sure he's slinging mud everywhere he went. Yeah.
And the other cool thing is, you didn't have to worry about if you'd stepped in something before you got in it. You didn't have to worry about if you bumped against it, or there was nothing to worry about.
No.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Just live.
Later in life, we had a 4-wheel drive Toyota, and we went on a date, and I said, "Well, whatever you do," we were coming home, and it was muddy, and he was like, "I'm going to go down that road." I was like, "Whatever you do, don't flip it, because I got my red pumps on." Yeah. Guess what he did?
Did he flip it? Are you serious?
Yeah. We had to walk.
Oh my! And you're going to take the red pumps off and walk barefooted?
Yeah, because it's sticking in the mud.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Now that is a grandma grandpa
And I still
story.
married him.
And here we are. Good job, Brian.
That's
you did it
right.
right, brother. You should write a book.
Oh, you get to tell that story way down as the years go by. Yeah, it's like, what was it like dating grandpa? Well, let me tell you. Yeah. And here's one.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's awesome.
I know. But you know what? You're right. Credit to Brian. He hung in there. He was determined.
So at some point in time, we're going to have to get him on here.
Yes.
Yeah.
To get his side of the story.
And
We'll have to get the origin of how did you get to where you were committed enough to steal that resume?
he wasn't scared.
Yeah.
Yeah. No
That's
fear.
good stuff.
No fear.
So here we are. You've made it through the Toyotas of doom. The first one that you went on the date in that was already wrecked, and then the one that you got to ride in that y'all wrecked together. And then you married him, stayed with him 38 years, and now you have 2 grandkids?
Yep.
So how old are the grandkids?
They are 6, going to be 7 in 2 weeks. And
They're both the
4.
same age? Oh, 6 and 4. Okay.
6 and 4.
Okay. Okay. And where do they live?
They live right around the corner in the next neighborhood over.
So you get to see them as much as you want
I
to.
do.
That
Well,
is
Ryder's
amazing.
right now in the summer, so he's at work with me.
Okay. So that's awesome. So do the boys ever bring them to work?
Well, Reed's 4, so he doesn't. Well, he comes to my work,
That's
but
what
he
I mean.
doesn't go to Frog Wash. It's too busy and too crazy.
Probably some dangerous stuff. when the
Dangerous
pressure
for a
washes.
kid.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome.
That is.
Well, congratulations. Congratulations on 38 years of marriage successfully. They've never had a fight. I mean, look
Very
at the
few.
smile.
We really have very.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I believe that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, no, you're still lighting up when you talk about it. Yeah, not embarrassed about too many things. No, I'm just kidding.
So what does Brian? I know he has his pressure washing business. I know he has a commercial vehicle, a truck or whatever that he uses for that.
Mhm.
But do y'all still have a Toyota in your life?
We do.
There you go.
It's wrapped with a frog on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's got a Toyota Tacoma that's got 300,000 miles on it. They just keep on
You just
going.
can't kill those things. No matter if you flip them, slide them in the ice, no matter what you do,
Right.
they just keep coming back for more.
Yeah, headlights hanging out. I mean,
Back in the late 1900s, my first 4-wheel drive truck was a Toyota.
yeah.
Yeah, they were
yeah.
fun.
Little 4-speed
Yeah.
Mhm.
manual transmission. I
Yeah.
love that stupid little thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting because likewise, the first truck I purchased was a Toyota.
Toyota.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I drove it, I think when it rolled over 200, that time I was getting married. So I needed more bench space. Yeah. And so I gave it to my dad. He put another 80,000.
Yeah.
And then, sometimes those trucks reach a point where it's worth more to fix it than they're actually worth.
Right.
Yeah, so he took it to the mechanic. The mechanic said, it's not even worth what I won't have to charge you. So he goes, okay, so he just gave it to him here. I said,
Really?
He said he sold it to him for $1 because back then
Right.
people bought trucks for parts. Now you have to order parts. But
Right.
back then they would go out there and bone some truck, for lights and pumps and all this stuff. And so he sold it to him for $1.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
I know. But boy, when they roll over that many miles, you got your money's worth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on an amazing life.
Yes.
Thank you.
So in business or personal, but really in business, in your entrepreneurial pursuits, what's your biggest failure?
We had a diet center. That was the biggest failure.
Okay. And what did you learn from that? How did that help you become what you are now?
I learned that people would rather have marble slab ice cream than be on a diet.
I felt it.
Yeah.
Yes. I subscribe to that denomination, whatever it
Yes,
is.
whatever it is.
I'm with that.
Yeah.
And it was okay. I mean, you have to have failures to have successes. So
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And that was the whole point. I wanted to know, because there's got to be,
everything has a lesson.
yes.
Nice.
And in failure is the opportunity for growth.
Right.
So many times we think of failure as, oh my gosh, I'm afraid I don't want to fail,
Yeah.
whatever. Don't fail as often as you can,
Right.
Right.
because failure means that you're growing. It means that you're forcing beyond
Mm-hmm.
your abilities or your
Boundaries.
qualifications. And that's where growth is.
That's exactly right.
So seek failure. That's one of my
Mhm.
favorite things.
Yeah, you can't have
Uh,
success without it.
That's right.
Right.
So that's why that question
Yeah.
is there.
Yeah.
Not to pick on you or anything.
No,
like
that's
that,
fine.
but, failure is inevitable. If you're going to grow,
Yeah.
you're going to fail.
Sure.
Yes.
If you're going to walk, you're going to fall.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And if you're going to run, you're going to fall.
It's going to happen.
So part of learning to do anything new, right?
That's right.
So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Good wisdom. Thank you.
Is there any general advice that you might give to someone thinking about being an entrepreneur or starting their own small business in general?
Something comes to mind, just to stick with it. Even when the money's not there, you got to get in the trenches and keep going. So there is a tomorrow. The money will come. You just have to keep digging in and going.
I believe that myself. Any
Yeah.
worthy.
Don't think that you have to pull other people in to get where you're going, because you don't have to.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That
Yeah.
is.
I love that.
Yeah.
And so often we get caught in this only being able to see what's right in front of our face. And a lot of time what's right in front of our face is an empty hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're running out of money. The bills ain't
And it's
stopping.
scary.
And you get this moment of
Mhm.
fear and this feeling of lack, and that takes over your mindset. And then you get tempted to quit
Mm.
or to pivot to something that
Right.
will
Yeah.
generate income, or you think,
And usually doesn't.
and usually doesn't.
Yeah.
And when faith
Mm-hmm.
tells you, keep going,
Mm-hmm.
because just beyond this feeling of failure is the thing that you're looking for. It
Yeah.
is the payment, the payout, the payoff,
Yeah.
the becoming,
Mm-hmm.
right?
I heard
Gotta
a
keep
sermon not too long ago, and the title of it was "Pumping Your Perseverance Muscles." And I
Oh,
thought
that's neat.
I thought that was good. Yeah, he said that it's those moments
Yeah.
when you're empty hand or it seems desperate. Is this where we quit? And is it nope? That's where you you put more weights on the rack and lift a little more. And when you don't even know that you can. And there was obviously a good 30 minutes of reiterating that point. But yeah, pumping your perseverance muscle. I like that. I did
that's
too.
good.
Yeah, we might put that on a sticker.
There you go.
That's a perseverance muscle. That's a good one.
Yes, yeah, we'll work that into maybe one of our live casts.
So we're drawn towards the end of our interview now, and you've done an amazing job.
I survived.
Yes, that's one of our things. We tell people that they survived an interview.
Yes.
And I like to give people a chance. Is there anything that we haven't asked you that you'd like us to discuss, or that you'd like to tell the audience? Anything?
I think you've about covered it.
Okay.
Good.
So we've got a few questions that we go through and things that we do to close the show. Chuck, is there anything that you'd like to?
Just a comment. I appreciate you walking us through the journey, but what I really appreciate is what you learned about yourself all along the way. And that obviously that's really galvanized in the last few comments that you've made, like advice, and you're about to really drop some Jerryisms on the world here in just a moment. But I appreciate your dedication to your valuable things, your faith and your marriage and your family. I mean, your sons, and going back to your grandparents all the way through. And I think that's going to be an excellent testament to folks who get to hear this. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Your commitment to your convictions shows through,
There it is.
and that's good. That's precious
Mhm.
and inspirational, I believe,
Thank you.
to others.
Yeah.
Chuck, we've had a guest on our show that's been sat under the tutelage of Miss Jerri
Yes.
for some years,
Yeah.
and her testimony, her story was good as well. That's Miss Rachel.
Mhm.
And what's crazy is that, are y'all related in any way?
We're not.
And to
But you
look
think
at
she's
this,
related.
if you to put your faces side by side and then your mannerisms and things, sweet Lord, y'all, I mean, you
I
seriously
know.
seem like family.
We are.
Yeah.
But I mean, genetically, I do agree that you are a family.
Yeah.
But y'all favor each other so much,
They do.
it's hard to imagine that you're not genetically connected.
Right. She's like a mini me.
It's pretty passionate.
Yeah. She's precious. She's
She's a gift.
She's a gift, and for her age, and of course what she took from her experiences, which were pretty tough.
Mhm.
It's impressive how mature she is at such a young age. And
It's going to be fun to watch her come to fruition.
yes,
It is. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And she really believes in what y'all do and who you do it for. And I'm sure that's a passion that you were just like, oh, what a gem.
Yeah.
That just came to you.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
so.
Yeah. She is a true gift. And really and truly, I couldn't do what I do every day without the employees that I have employed at my company.
Mhm.
They're each one unique, and they each one bring it all. So
something I've noticed, and I'm going to compliment you a little bit throughout the years of me participating with your business, is that you don't often have a fly-by-night employee.
Mhm.
Most of your staff, they come and they stay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a positive in two directions. Number one, you're really good at recruiting the right person for the right job.
Thank you.
And then number two, you're creating a culture of family.
Mm-hmm.
They feel like they belong.
Yeah, they are. They're my family.
And they feel valued,
Mm-hmm.
which is of immeasurable worth
Right.
in the job market.
Yeah.
So good job on that.
Yes,
Thank you.
definitely a testament to your leadership, because when there's an ownership, when there's a buy-in, you couldn't run them off, you know,
Right.
and they will do all those extraordinaries
Yeah.
that they almost surprise you with sometimes, like, oh, you did that? Oh, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know that happens a lot when we run businesses, and you don't know it until it's later, and you're like, well, that came from somewhere
Yeah.
inside. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
You know? So I know you probably see a lot of those moments.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's amazing.
Well, the last two questions that I'm going to ask you, the very final question, my favorite one of the whole show,
Okay.
and every guest gets this question.
Okay.
Okay. But the first of those two is if you could, if there's people out there watching this episode
Mm-hmm.
that admire your story,
Mm-hmm.
and you're inspiring them, and they want to become a reflection or a similar, they want to take a similar path to you,
Mm-hmm.
what advice might you give them?
Just never give up.
Never give up.
Yeah.
That's pretty fair advice, pretty
Yes.
profound.
Right.
And we love simplicity.
Yeah.
So that's perfect.
My grandpa would always say, you need to take time. Don't always be so busy. You need to take time and stop and slow down, because I tend to run mock speed. Yeah.
That's fascinating.
Yes.
One of my mentors is John Maxwell.
Mm-hmm.
I study a lot of his material, and he talks about his father. His father taught him he uses this quote, walk slowly through the crowd.
Yeah.
And the point of that is, or one of the things I get from it is, if you're always in a hurry, you're always missing most of your opportunities, at least. But if you take that time, like your grandpa said,
Mm-hmm.
slow down, be in the moment,
Right.
see what's before you,
Right.
value the people around you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's profound stuff.
It is. You have to take time with whatever you're doing. So if we're doing family, you need to just be family. Go put your phone up. Go put your computer
Yes.
up. Focus
Thank you.
on those grandkids.
And I'm guilty. I mean,
You got to put it aside.
yeah,
You do. Yeah. And when you're at work, work on work.
that's good stuff.
Yeah.
Be where you are.
Yeah. Compartmentalize. Yeah. When you're at
That's good
church,
stuff.
praise and worship. So yeah.
Go all in
Go all
wherever
in.
you are. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yes.
good.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
real good.
It is.
So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So my last question, and it's my favorite one. If you could go back in time to Social Butterfly Jerri in high school,
Mm-hmm.
the whole world is in front of you. We're in the 1900s, you know,
So long ago.
back in the day before the turn of the century, you know, all this. But if you went back to about your 17-year-old self,
Mm-hmm.
and you could give yourself some advice, just whisper in your ear some profound words of wisdom to your younger self,
Okay.
what might you say?
That's a big question.
Mhm.
That's why it's my favorite.
Yeah. Maybe don't be such a workaholic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit. What does that mean?
Well, I've always worked a lot of hours,
Okay.
like 60 to 80.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes you need to stop and sleep and do things like that. So whenever my kids were young, I worked a lot of hours. So if I could go back or change things, that's what I would change.
Mhm.
Okay.
So now with my grandkids, I stop and I spend time with them.
Okay.
So that really plays into the other thing you said about the advice that you'd give to the audience, that
Mhm.
like you would be more present in each moment of your life.
Yep. Yeah.
That's good.
It is.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, Jerri, it has been an honor and privilege to have you with us today. Is there anything else you'd like to say? Did we miss anything?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I hope that you'll be an ambassador for us with Brian and get him to come on here.
Okay.
Because we do want his side of this story.
Yes.
And, I
You
think
can work on him.
I will.
I think it'd be fun to, to get the origin of the stealing of the resume.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
But
And his take on the Toyota, what it was.
yes.
He
And,
laughed about the Toyota.
and were we
Sure.
showing off on the mud road?
Right.
Was it trying to impress the
It's,
passenger?
it's kind of looking like it,
Yeah.
but we'll find out.
Those oops
Stay
moments
tuned.
in our young man years, we did lots of things to impress, especially a female,
Yeah.
at the risk of life, limb, and property.
Yeah.
Which is usually what it calls.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Scars for life, stories to tell. But
Yeah.
there you go.
Well, ladies and gentlemen out there in the audience, thank you for joining us again for another episode of the Pursuit of Purpose podcast. I'm Rob,
I'm Chuck.
and today we've had with us.
Jerri.
Thank you so much for allowing us to become a part of the pursuit of your purpose. We'll see you soon.